This is Mary Alice Hudson. Looking at these journals and articles was a rabbit hole for me. It was a lot of fun, but eventually I had to stop so I could do this reflection. With the exception of the Journal of Scholarship in Teaching and Learning, I selected EdTech journals. All of the articles and journals felt very familiar to me. My dissertation was focused on the use of robotics in elementary schools to teach computational thinking skills and to increase student interest in STEM subjects and careers. So I've read a lot of research related to these topics. Most of it was set in elementary schools, but a portion of it was also in higher education, related to the education of pre-service elementary education teachers. The thing I enjoyed most about the tables of contents and I perused and the abstracts I read for this article was the usefulness of the topics. I saw topics and questions such as who performs better, students who participate in online coursework asynchronously or synchronously? Can active learning help integrate diverse students into the learning environment? Should students be required to participate in social media as part of their coursework? And are students more successful when they self-select their groups or when professors assign groups? All of the titles and topics were very interesting. Upon closer examination of 6 abstracts, all were found to be quasi-experimental in design with a mixture of methodologies with qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods research all represented. Sample sizes varied from 33 to 208 students, and settings varied from a single classroom to 3 sections of the same course at one university to 2 groups of students across 2 universities. All of the conclusions produced interesting findings that professors could use to rethink or re-examine their own practices. In response to the aforementioned questions, researchers found academic success in an online course was related to the total number of hours students participated rather than whether their participation was synchronous or asynchronous. There were both benefits and challenges to active learning for diverse learners. When required to tweet as part of coursework, participants tweeted around deadlines and then quit using their accounts for professional education purposes once the class ended. And finally, teacher-matched performance groups were found to have significantly higher grades on several performance measures. However, overall, the effect sizes were small. This is all really great and useful information that, in my mind, differs very little from traditional academic research. My biggest question is who or what defines a piece of research as SOTL? When I looked at the articles in these journals, I wondered if the authors from the EdTech journals would consider their work SOTL. I'm assuming the research from the Journal of the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning is self-described by the authors as SOTL. But what about the others? All of these studies look to me like all the other research I've read. So does the distinction really matter? It all looks like academic research to me. I guess another question I have is about the emphasis on students as co-researchers. This is a difference I see between SOTL and traditional research, at least to some degree. It's common for students to be involved in traditional research, but not as both co-researcher or assistant and also as a subject. While many of McKinney's suggestions for ways to include students in SOTL were the same as the ways students are included in traditional research, there were also times I felt like she was really reaching to find ways to include students in the research process. I also thought it was interesting that Bishop Clark and Dietz Uhler's list of literature review resources included non-peer review material such as websites, theses, dissertations, and books. I'm not sure how I feel about this. There are a lot of non-research based opinions out there which are more likely to find in non-peer reviewed material. While not all peer-reviewed research is perfect, it seems like a better place to start than some of those listed by Bishop Clark and Dietz Uhler. While I appreciate the freedom that comes with this expanded list of literature to utilize, I can see how it would make it more difficult to equate SOTL with traditional academic research. So what stood out for me? I enjoyed the thoughtful way Bishop Clark and Dietz Uhler walked through the steps and thought processes of SOTL. There wasn't anything earth-shattering about what they presented, but they did present a solid step-by-step account of undertaking research. As a novice researcher, I would have found a lot of comfort in their suggestions and straightforward approach. Their explanation of descriptive research as research that describes the current state of affairs struck a chord with me. As I've thought about social-emotional learning and how SOTL could be used to explore this topic, I haven't quite come up with the right approach to explore the need for or the impact of social emotional learning in remote education. But I can see how exploring the topic via descriptive research would be of value. It's hard to know how to even begin to address a problem without first thoroughly understanding the problem. Maybe I'm missing something, but it seems like any experienced researcher could undertake SOTL. Granted, some of the methodology, data collection, and data analysis might be unfamiliar, but that would be true of any new research methodology. From what I can tell, the overall research process is the same as traditional academic research. Generalization would be the biggest problem, but it's problematic with anything other than true experimental research, which is difficult to conduct in many fields, including education. All in all, I have a hard time understanding why SOTL would be viewed as less rigorous or less important than traditional research. Thank you for listening, and here are my references.